Have you ever hung up the phone with a family member and just sat there feeling drained? Maybe your stomach tightened during the conversation. Maybe your mind spun with guilt, anger, or frustration. And afterward, instead of feeling closer, you felt drained. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And you're certainly not the problem here. Because here's the truth no one likes to say out loud: just because someone is family doesn't mean they get unlimited access to your peace. Now, I know this is a tricky subject. Family is supposed to be your safe space. But sometimes, the people who are supposed to love us the most test our limits, push our buttons, and cross lines we never gave them permission to cross, challenging our right to peace. And after 70, you've earned the right to protect your peace and well-being without any need for an apology or explanation. This video isn't about cutting people off, being cold, or creating unnecessary drama. It's about learning how to set clear, loving, and firm boundaries that protect your emotional health, so you can actually enjoy this chapter of your life without carrying the weight of other people's toxicity and negativity. So, let's start with one of the most important shifts you can make. You don't owe anyone unlimited emotional access just because they share your DNA. It's easy to feel like you have to take every call, answer every text, show up for every gathering, and listen to every complaint. But here's the deal. Being a parent, a sibling, a cousin, or even a grandparent doesn't mean you're on call for emotional damage. Your time is valuable. And just because someone's family doesn't mean they get a free pass to disrespect you. It's okay to say, I'm not available for this conversation right now, and that's fine. It's okay to ignore the phone when you're not emotionally up for it. It's okay to create a little space, not to punish, but to protect. Setting boundaries isn't an attack, it's self-respect. Next, let's talk about one of the most powerful tools for dealing with toxic family members: the power of silence. Sometimes the best response is no response, not out of spite, but out of inner strength. When someone pokes, provokes, or says something to get a reaction, they're looking for a spark. They want the argument, the guilt trip, the back and forth. But when you choose not to engage, when you stay calm and neutral, you take away their power. Silence is not a sign of weakness, it's self-control. You don't have to explain your choices to people who don't listen to you. You don't have to defend your boundaries to people who constantly step over them. Sometimes the most peaceful thing you can say is nothing at all. And trust me, when you stop reacting, people notice. They may not like it at first, they may push harder initially, but over time, they'll start to understand. You are not available for the same emotional roller coaster ride anymore. That brings us to something incredibly important. You're allowed to change the rules at any time, whenever you feel the need. Just because you've tolerated a certain behavior for years doesn't mean you have to keep tolerating it forever. Maybe you let your daughter criticize your choices without speaking up. Maybe your brother always dumps his stress on you. Maybe your adult child calls only when they need something. Whatever the pattern is, if it doesn't feel healthy anymore, you're allowed to change how you respond to it now. You can say, I know I used to let this slide, but it's not okay with me anymore. I need boundaries. You can decide to shorten conversations, to stop justifying yourself, to say no without adding a reason or explanation. Boundaries aren't about being mean. They're about being clear and honest. Clarity is a gift to everyone involved. You're not responsible for other people's reactions. Instead, focus on maintaining your own inner peace and well-being, and let go of external pressures. One of the most common fears I hear from people over 70 is this: if I set boundaries with my family, they might get mad or pull away from me. I don't want to lose them, but I need to protect myself. And that fear is real. You've spent a lifetime building relationships, doing your best to hold everything together. The idea of creating distance can feel terrifying, but here's the truth you need to hear. Sometimes protecting your peace will cost you a little comfort in the short term, but ultimately, it will give you back your sanity and well-being in the long term. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting someone off completely. It means inviting them to meet you at a healthier, more balanced place. It's an invitation, not an ultimatum or a demand. If they choose not to meet you there, that's entirely their choice. Now let's talk about one of the most empowering things you can do: decide what topics are off limits and stick. Toxic family members love to bring up subjects that drain you. Maybe it's politics, maybe it's money, maybe it's past mistakes or things you said decades ago that they won't let go of. They poke and prod, saying, I'm just being honest, while completely ignoring how their words make you feel. But here's what you can do. Pick your peace over their drama. You can say, that's not something I'm willing to discuss, and then hold that line. If they bring it up again, repeat yourself. Calmly. Every time. No debate, no emotion. Just a firm, quiet, that's not something I'm discussing. At first they might try harder. They might mock you, guilt you, push your buttons. But over time they'll learn, your boundary is not a suggestion, it's a decision. And decisions don't need to be defended. They just need to be honored, by you first, and eventually by them. Always remember that. Another key shift is to lower expectations but raise your standards. It sounds like a contradiction, but let me explain. Sometimes we hold on to the hope that toxic family members will eventually change, that one day they'll realize how much they've hurt you and finally apologize, that they'll become the loving, supportive version of themselves you've always wished for them to be. People can change, but waiting for it will break your heart. Instead of expecting different behavior, expect the same. Raise your standards for what you accept in life. Don't walk into a family gathering expecting someone to be different. Walk in prepared to hold your peace regardless of how they act or what they say, because that's real power, not trying to change them, but changing how you protect yourself. Speaking of power, remember this, you don't have to explain your choices or decisions to anyone ever. If you decide to skip a gathering, cut a phone call short, or take space from a certain relative, you don't owe them a 10-paragraph explanation. You don't need to write a heartfelt letter detailing your pain and struggles. You don't need their approval to take care of yourself, ever. You're allowed to say, I'm not able to come, or I need time, and leave it at that. If someone truly loves you, they'll respect your boundaries, even if they don't fully understand them. And if they don't, well then they've just shown you exactly why those boundaries were needed in the first place, haven't they? It's quite clear now. Now here's where it all comes together. You are never too old to change how people treat you, ever. Respect has no expiration date. You don't stop deserving kindness, consideration, or dignity just because you've reached 70 years old. In fact, now more than ever, you should be surrounded by people who lift you, who listen, and who honor the space you've created around yourself. Your later years should not be spent walking on eggshells, constantly shrinking yourself to keep the peace. They should be spent walking confidently in your truth, with a calm heart and unshakable peace. There comes a point in life, especially after 70, where your time, your energy, and your peace become your most valuable assets. Not your house, not your bank account, not what others think of you, but that quiet, steady calm in your heart. The kind that lets you breathe easy, sleep well, and wake up without a knot in your stomach. And that kind of peace? It's something you protect, not with anger or walls, but with clear boundaries, self-respect, and love. So let's close with this thought. You're not too old to change how others treat you. You're not stuck. You're not powerless. And you certainly aren't obligated to tolerate pain just because it's coming from your own family members. That's a word that gets thrown around a lot. Family. As if it automatically means trust, support, and love. But let's be real. Family is not always loving. Family can sometimes be the loudest critic, the one who tears you down behind a smile, the one who guilts you into silence. But here's the truth. You get to choose who has access to you. You get to decide who gets to walk beside you in this chapter of your life, and who needs to love you from a distance for your own peace. If that makes people uncomfortable, then so be it. Because the only thing worse than setting a boundary is never setting one, and waking up every day feeling resentful, disrespected, emotionally drained, and completely overwhelmed. Now let's be clear, boundaries don't always create big dramatic changes overnight. You might still get some pushback, some people might get angry, others might play the victim. But over time, they'll see you're not playing the same role anymore. You're not the person who stays quiet just to keep the peace no matter what. You're not the one who takes the blame just to avoid an argument. You're not the emotional sponge they can wring out whenever they want, period. You are strong, you are clear, you are finally prioritizing yourself, without guilt and embracing your true potential fully. And here's the most beautiful part. When you protect your peace, you teach others how to protect theirs. You set an example for your children, your grandchildren, your friends, that boundaries are not a betrayal. They are an act of self-care and self-love. Because you're not doing this to punish anyone, you're doing it to stay whole, to keep your spirit intact, your heart strong, and your mind at peace. If this message hit close to home, if you've been dealing with toxic family dynamics, if you've felt stuck, exhausted, or unsure how to speak up, I want to encourage you to start small. Say no without explaining yourself. Take a break when your energy feels off or drained. Hang up the phone if the conversation turns toxic or negative. Write yourself a permission slip to protect your peace. Every day. If you need to hear it from someone else, you have every right to do this. You're not selfish. You're wise. So what about you? Have you had to set boundaries with a family member? Are you still struggling to protect your peace? I'd love to hear your story. Drop a comment below, I read them all. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may need it. Let's help each other build stronger boundaries and softer hearts. You've given so much to others, now it's time to give back to yourself. You are worthy of love, peace, respect, and happiness. Strong boundaries lead to a peaceful